Hello, and we are back. It has been exactly a week, a little more than a week, I think, since we last did an episode. I forget what episode we're on. What are we? What I think we're on episode 7, 8.
8 or 9, yeah.
Not quite
When
sure.
I've lost count.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, we're on an episode. We've what game week was? This is the extent of where I am. What game week was it? Was it game week
It was game week
8? Right.
8. Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, we were somewhere around the area anyway. So welcome back to our review of Game Week 8, where a lot of things have happened. It was the first set of fixtures after the international break. And we'd last done an episode on just before the weekend. So we previewed a set of fixtures. But before we get into the week's games and what happened and what could possibly happen, I'd love to welcome Vishnu back, who we gave a lot of grief to the last time he was around. Things have now changed. The shoe is on the other foot, and I think he's about to give us a lot of grief, at least me and Akshay specifically, regarding what's happening with our wonderful, beloved Man United. And I think, but first of all, yeah, where are my manners? Vishnu, welcome back, dude.
Thank you so much. Good to see you guys again. Hope you guys are doing well.
Yeah, all good. How's everyone else doing? I mean, let's just go around the table.
All good.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
It's been enough time given to recover from the results over the weekend, Tuesday.
Yeah.
So,
Looking forward to some good midweek fixtures for all the teams and results.
although that I am not looking forward to midweek fixtures, but let's get into exactly why. So I will what do you call? I'll kickstart this because there's only one place to start. And just before we got on the pod, Vishnu, Akshay, and I were discussing where do we begin? And I guess there's only one place to really begin, right? So this weekend, I woke up at about 8 o'clock because there was a 10 a.m. Where I am. The game kicks off at 10 a.m. And all at least it was, I think, the 3 o'clock fixtures, which are not telecast in the UK anyway. And the 10 o'clock fixtures had Wolves, Aston Villa, which is a great game by itself. I think it had Leeds and Leeds West Ham, right? Also, and which I think West Ham won that game. So, and then of course United versus Leicester, which was the episode. I mean, which was the match of that. Oh wow, my brain is mush, and the day hasn't even begun. So, which was the episode? Which was God, come on! Which was the match of the hour, so to speak. I have somehow watched most of that game and missed all the goals. And like 6 goals were scored in that game. I didn't see one of them live.
Oh.
All I did was every time I had to go do something, someone would score a goal. I remember I had to go to the doctors. By the time I went to the doctors, Greenwood had scored and Tielemans had equalized. So that went out the window. Then my stream dropped halfway through. So I missed the Solanchu goal. Then Rashford. Then again I had to go back to the doctors to get my reports. And within 3 minutes of within 90 seconds of going, Rashford equalized to, oh shit, Vardy scored again. And it was quite the comedy of errors if of watching it back. I just think United looked like this extremely disjointed unit. And just before I got on here, I was listening to the Tifo Football podcast, and they were referencing an article that Michael Cox, who is their their tactics dude, basically, and he wrote an article in The Athletic talking about why United are so shit at the moment. And but before I get into it, let's just go around the table. Did you guys watch the game? What are your opinions?
I think I've been stuck.
Did he get stuck or something?
Yeah, I think so. That's a very picturesque
What is happening?
spot to get stuck.
Really? Oh my! Did I get stuck on stream? Oh no, not again. Okay, where did I cut off?
I think you just asked everybody our thoughts on the game.
Yeah, fine. Please, do let me know.
So
I would love to know what's happening.
I wasn't able to watch the game with full concentration. I was out for dinner with some friends, and hence I was watching it on my tiny little iPhone screen.
Oh wow, actually, iPhone screen. You make yourself look so humble. Go on.
No, I prefer like a TV screen or at least an iPad.
Akshay, stop. Okay, go on.
Anyways, but just I'm without commentary, so I was like sort of paying attention to the game, sort of not, and just saw the two goals, first two goals. I was like, yeah, I think it's gonna play out to a draw because we played really shit, and second half started, we were even more shit than the first half, and then we all know what happened from there. And I think after the second Leicester goal, I completely switched off the phone and stopped watching the game.
Huh.
But
George,
yeah,
did you watch it?
But the two
Yeah,
first two goals
watched
were
it.
really insane.
That whole game was like, did United sign Sancho, Varane, and Ronaldo, and somehow get worse? Like, it didn't make any sense. Also, Leicester, dude, Soyuncu. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Soyuncu, yeah. Soyuncu slabhead is greater than Maguire slabhead. That's for sure. He looked like he was fighting in some, like, alongside Legolas in some Battle of Mordor or something. The way that guy was playing, he's some insane defending and attacking and stuff like that. But generally worried about United, like they have a not so great run of games coming up, and worried about Ole actually. I don't know. Ole always last minute he gets on a string of games where he wins, and then he keeps his job. This time, that's going to be hard to pull off.
Vishnu, what's happening, dude?
So yeah, as you're talking about like last time as well, right? Like if you see the away game run has ended now, whatever it was, 28, 29 games. First off, that's what's happened. And if you see Maguire again at Leicester, even like last season, crowds on his back from minute one. He's made like Sunday league errors that people would make, like if me and you were playing in like Accelerate or any of these pitches, he's making like simple errors like that. Like what's going on there? Like 2 games in a row, back to back, the crowd's on him. He doesn't know what to do when it comes to Leicester, I guess. He gets nervous.
It's almost like the Leicester fans are like, after all this time, Harry, and he's like, always.
It's like footballing justice, in the sense something comes over Maguire when he goes to like the Foxes back home. But
there was a fun, interesting fact about Maguire that he's let out 8 goals against Leicester since leaving them.
Yeah, I don't know what happens. Like I thought he'd improved from last season.
Well, that's a stat because the one thing, and he was at fault for at least 3 of those goals, if I'm being perfectly honest. Like 3 of those goals.
Totally.
But my opinion on it was he was not fit. He didn't look fit, and you could tell like that Tielemans chance, the Tielemans goal, which is itself. I don't know. Was it a cross? Was it a shot? I still don't know. People say it's a shot. People say it's a cross. I think he meant it. I think he's Tielemans went. That must have been because there's nobody on the back stick. Like there's no one coming. So it's just it feels like something.
It reminded me of like this old goal Perez scored. I think like back in the day, against I think it was against Villa or something where the ball came and first time he just clipped it, and that was I think even further away. It was similar to that. He completely meant it. Like he saw the gear off, and it was like just a great piece of skill. Like
it was. I thought it was a great goal. It actually reminded me of another infuriating incident, which was last season, Everton at United, where Bruno chips the keeper, and United go into that game 2-0 at halftime, and then somehow miraculously draw that 3-3. Anyway, so. But yeah, we're back to the point. So Tielemans, first of all, Greenwood scores a thunder shot, like it was pure power. And I am one of those people who's constantly like, bro, Mason, pass the ball. Like there's literally a person next to you, pass the ball. Don't take a shot. And then someone, and I was at the doctor's, Akshay was like, Mason, and then what happened? So then I see the goal. I'm like, oh, okay. I can see.
Dude, Greenwood's a sniper, dude. He's a sniper. He needs one shot and it's in.
Yeah, and he had a speculative effort just before that as well, where Ronaldo was asking for the ball and he went for it, and then he went for it again, which I was quite surprised. If he had missed that one, Ronaldo, I think he would
Yeah.
you know,
Ronaldo would have
had
jumped up
something to
and
say
did it.
about
would
that.
have continued.
No, so if you notice something with United, and this is kind of the whole tactical issue that's cropping up. Ronaldo doesn't press, and Bruno doesn't press. Pogba attempts to press, is really bad at it. So basically, you're carrying 3 players who don't press, and you need the other 7 who are in the outfield to absolutely be on top of their game. Now they're not on top of their game. Why they're not on top of their game? Because they're limited players in their own right. So Maguire, first of all, is not fit. Lindelof has the capability of dropping a clanger every now and then. Wan-Bissaka, dude. Some days he looks like the world's greatest defender. Some days, whenever he slides, he looks like an absolute buffoon. And it's just that I don't think Luke Shaw's come back from the Euros, and I think this is generally a problem with most English players in the league right now. All of them who went to the Euros haven't really picked up. I think Saka looks the most sharp amongst all of them, and we'll talk about him when we come to the Palace game, because wow, there was an incident in that game that I want to talk about. But generally, with regards to what
the balance of the side, like
the balance. It's just, it seems to be all over the place. So I'm not quite sure. Bringing Ronaldo was the answer, because Cavani is what United should have actually gone for, was the high pressing forward, like in the ilk of Edinson Cavani, and that's not it. So it's a strange time, a really strange time.
But if you think about it, like the back four is the same as last season, right? Apart from Shaw playing more consistently for the last after his injury. So I don't know why it's so surprising. Like the back four is the same. There's no change in midfield. It's just the big name up top that United have got, and everyone thinks like he's going to get the results and he's going to get the goals and galvanize like United, like probably Maradona at Napoli or something like that, But that's not. This is the league. It's like 2021. So it's not surprising in terms of like, and the other day, yesterday on Monday Night Football, Carragher went on about Ole trying to probably changing the personnel and finding better balance in the team, and that's probably going to have to sacrifice 1 or 2 players in Sancho or Ronaldo, where you need to switch players depending on the type of game you're playing in and that sort. And then Ole came out, I think, a couple of hours later, and he said, "Why should I change my style of play?" Like he has to adapt, right? Like this is the conversation we have with managers, where you can't play the same way again and again. You have to, like, one of the biggest criticisms against Wenger was he played the same way in games and there was no switch up, right? Like it's a similar situation where he needs to like look at the side he's playing, especially away from home now, and the crowd's back. And even at Old Trafford, like drawn 1, lost 1, and that crowd can get on your back pretty quickly as the season goes on. So he has to, I think, get, I don't know what, like is whenever Fred plays, it's like, why is Fred playing? And then when he's not there, the balance just goes. So my thing is like, why not play McTominay? Because he gives that ferocity in terms of the midfield, where he puts in challenges. Like he's a personality in there. And then I don't think Matic had a bad game either. Like Matic,
I thought he was actually pretty good.
Well, he's just moving it around, not holding on to it, just keeping the ball moving. And like he's a good, like I like watching him play. Like he's great. But then what's the other guy doing? Like there's no, like he can't. He's what now? Like coming up to 35, I think.
33, I think. He's, but his legs have gone. So like
his legs have completely gone. So you need someone who's like, like
the younger version of him, basic. So if United had a younger version of Matic, would be fine. The thing with McTominay doesn't progress the ball. Matic looks for line cutting passes. He's always like moving, and in spite of his limited mobility, he's always moving. McTominay hides, and to a point where he picks and chooses his games to show up in, so he's not consistent. Now with Fred and McTominay, you get the enforcer in McTominay, and you get Fred who progresses the ball up the pitch. Like he's not very. They both don't have an excellent range of passing, but what they do have is they offer the defense protection that otherwise is lacking. Now you play Fred and McTominay. Now Rashford's back. That left wing position is gone. Like whoever is coming in is like all his backups will there's no chance. Like now, Rashford is there. He's fit. He's already scored on his game back. He's
Yeah.
going to be in the team. Now, with regards to the other side of the pitch, which is the striker, the right forward, and I mean the right winger and the central attacking midfielder. Now a decision has to be made with regards to either you play Pogba and Bruno and completely like screw the width of your team, play Sancho and Bruno, and then play Ronaldo up front, and or either you go a 4-4-2 where you play Bruno on the right, Rashford on the left, Cavani and Ronaldo up front. There's a lot that, and so you can't, and and those are all systems without Jadon Sancho. I don't think I mentioned him once. And for a 75 million acquisition, he looks better with each game, and I think he's not there yet. I think the arrival of Ronaldo kind of shunted his progress in the team. I think United were playing a certain way, and they're like, oh, now we have to accommodate for this absolute goal threat machine that's going to come out of nowhere, but he will not do the defensive work. And teams have sussed that out. So you go to Leicester pressed United off the park. Aston Villa also let United keep the ball in areas they perceive to be less dangerous. Bruno is actually, if you notice, in the defensive transition formation, Ronaldo is at the number 10, Bruno is at the number 9. Now, what is he doing there? I think Bruno is trying to initiate the press on the front, and if it doesn't work out, he gets pissed off and he's like, what I tried, you guys, no one's coming to help me or anything. There was a moment in the Leicester game, and I didn't notice this until I listened to it on the Tifo podcast recently, just as of this morning. And it talks about how Greenwood, Timothy Castagna is the left back, right? And so Mason Greenwood plays in front of him. So at that point, Ronaldo looks at him and looks at Mason and says, "Press him," and Greenwood just runs at him in a straight line. Castagna looks at him, turns, passes the ball to somebody else, and Leicester are out of there. And then by this time, Greenwood is so far up the pitch that Wan-Bissaka, who he's playing in front of, is fully isolated. So now there's acres of space for the entire Leicester team to shift the play to, and that's kind of the basic issue with United. So I think this also boils down to coaching. What is happening now? See, I am one of Ole's biggest supporters, always have been. I feel in terms of taking a team to where it should be, like, he's excellent, great man manager, cultural reset, especially after the shit show that was Mourinho, where I hated the entire team. But now we're in this position where it looks like, okay, usually there's a guy who keeps pulling results out of the bag, especially in moments where they absolutely need them. For the first time, I've looked at him and I'm like, okay, this seems a bridge beyond a bridge too far for you. I feel at this point you have done everything you possibly could have done to get this team forward, but either it's the coaches, you have wonderful man manager, but right now I think the number of egos in that squad is a bit much. You can handle a Bruno and a Pogba, fine. You cannot handle a Bruno, Pogba, a Rashford, and a Ronaldo. And that's where the inexperience is coming into play, and that's where the issue. And Cavani is just like being the consummate professional on the side. So, and that's where the issue currently lies. And if he doesn't qualify for the Champions League, which is a very real possibility, by the way, because Atlanta are no pushovers, they're also extremely high pressing unit who are so good at what they do. And if United dilly-dally like the way they've been playing for the last couple of weeks, I don't quite see how they're going to get anything out of those two games, because it's a double header. Because if I'm not mistaken, the next fixtures are Atlanta on Wednesday, that's tomorrow.
Got
Liverpool on the weekend, Atlanta again next week, Spurs, and then City.
City or they play Chelsea, and then they play.
So it's Atlanta, Liverpool, Spurs, Atlanta, City.
Wait, Atlanta, Liverpool, Spurs, Atlanta, City. Oh God, so that's a run. Yeah, and I think there's Arsenal is at the end of November, and Ole still hasn't beaten Arteta. In the cup, I think he has, but not in not in the
league.
November 30th, I think we play at Old Trafford.
Villarreal, Chelsea, and Arsenal.
Oh, it's going to be a fun time. I think if he the next 2 weeks, if he doesn't make if he doesn't win the second Atlanta game, not this one, I think he's gone. I genuinely think he's gone because right now there's a sense of uneasiness permeating through Old Trafford, and just amongst the fan base, we're like, okay, even the ones who are like his staunch supporters are like, feel like we've reached the point. Like this is the point. But I'd love your opinions on it, and I have like 4 minutes before I drop off, so you please keep the conversation flowing after.
We'd lose half a banter, dude, if Ole went. So that might be a big loss. But I also think like Sid used to keep saying he plays the SAF way, the United way. But dude, the SAF era and the United era are over, dude. That was over 20 years back or 11 years. It's old. Like you need to play with the style. You need to have an idea.
Yeah.
You can't just play width and cross and inshallah and hope it works.
You need a structure. So the funny thing is, Leicester also played that 4-4-2, the SAS style, and they won the Premier League with it because they played the same. It requires you to play the same team repeatedly, but they all have to be very good at what they do, or rather, they have to work their socks off to get the team progressing up the pitch. I don't see that happening though. Vishnu, what do you think, dude?
I think it's a bit premature. I think discrediting Ole a bit, like he had a long away run. He's changed, as you said, a couple of things at the club. But I think it's a matter of how good a manager you're at the end of the day, right? He can only take you so far, and that point it's going to come sooner or later. It's definitely going to come because I personally always knew he's not a top manager. He's going to be there for that bit to just get the ship where in stable waters, clear waters, and then you got to have like someone top guy come in at a club like United, because it's United. We're not talking about mid-table clubs or like Wolves or Villa or this is United. Like you need like a top manager. And one other thing is, I don't understand. You tell me what the difference is apart from the Ronaldo signing between what Mourinho did and what Ole is doing. You signed Zlatan then. You signed a bunch of older players then, who were coming at the end of their careers at the top of the game. He's probably done the same thing. Like even though it's Ronaldo, and even though he's my favorite player personally also. Like I was like super excited to watch him back in the league, right? Like remember all those memories about Portsmouth and all the crazy goals he scored, right? But like seriously speaking, it's the same thing. Like what's the philosophical difference? I'd like to know, because I don't see any philosophical difference. You see the middle of the park, there's no like spine there. But Varane, as you know, even Thiago Silva last season when he came in first season, you need one season to like just build yourself up in the league, because they don't realize like how frantic it is, especially with the new like refereeing things coming up. Like you saw that MacArthur challenge, we'll talk about it later. But it's just crazy like how physical it's got this year, and they're just not prepared for it. Like players are just not prepared for it. You see any top player, De Bruyne, Salah, any of these guys who come in, like it's crazy.
So the funny thing, and I'll quickly make this point and I'll drop off, is that you mentioned the difference between Mourinho, and the only difference I currently see between Mourinho and, I mean, I said two, and Ole, is that the team don't hate him. I think everybody in the team likes him, so there is no it's not toxic. So whoever comes in is not going to be like, oh, I have like this. What the hell is this? I have to like scrub the floors and deep clean the entire place before we eventually have some sort of a semblance of a team.
Yeah, but again, see, probably that's the difference why United won a trophy under him, and they're not going to probably win a trophy under Ole.
So the thing is, the first season
that's the reality of it all, right? We can abuse Mourinho how much we want, but he's probably like has been the best manager in the last decade and a half or more.
Yeah, so Mourinho has 2 trophies in the first season, and technically he should have had a lot. Like United should have finished 4th if it wasn't for Zlatan just absolutely, what do you call? Like he scored 25 goals that season, but he missed so much more. And and if you remember that season, United were never consistent. They were always like one game win, one game draw, one game loss. It's just how they went. And if you put into perspective what like Mourinho's run to the Europa League final, he faced nobody. Nearly got knocked out by Celta Vigo, and I remember that game very well because John Guidetti, who is the who is an ex Man City guy, he had a clear that this was the game. No, that was the Anderlecht game where Zlatan did his ACL in. But John Guidetti had an open shot at goal, and United should have actually really gone on that game. This was those two scenes where De Gea really kept. We keep underestimating David De Gea those 2 years.
He played well over the weekend as well, like some good saves.
Good saves, and like that second season we finished second, 18 or 19 points behind City, and De Gea pulled off some absolute like the best saves I've ever seen. Akshay and I were watching the Arsenal game, the one where he makes a double save off of Lacazette and Sanchez
at the Emirates, like
and
then one after the other is like, how's this ball not going in, right?
So it's just it's absolute pandemonium. Okay, guys, I'm going to like drop off for like 10-15 minutes. I shall be back. Keep this going. Vishnu, those Akshay, just take this out. We'll finish the Ole thing in a bit, and then I think we'll move on to the people on top of the league, Salah and Liverpool, because they seem to be running away with it at this point.
Yeah.
I'll see you guys in a bit.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, back to yes. I think Ole is going to be next few games will decide his career. I don't know. I'm not really for Ole out, but at this point, I really think we need a new manager to come in to get us back to our winning ways.
I think the sign of a manager when he looks clueless or he doesn't know what to do to change a game, that's when it starts to become a little scary. Like what is he doing?
They have to like he has to make changes when needed in the game and not like any random changes that he does, substitutions, whatever. And I think he has to adapt to how the other team is playing and most likely match their formation, right? We see that in Tuchel also, that he always matches the opposition's formation, and that's why he's such a good manager compared to any.
I mean, Tuchel is a very tactical manager. He analyzes and he thinks whether he should match or not match or whatever. I mean, speaking of Tuchel, though, we can go to the Chelsea game. That was one heck of a roller coaster ride for me, at least. Like I think that last
highlight. I think it was the highlight of the weekend in terms of just the quality of the game from both sides.
Yeah, the last 30 minutes I didn't unclench. I was just like, shit, this like when you're talking about De Gea and that Arsenal game, I mean, this might not be as
it was similar though.
It was similar. I have to give it to Mendy for what he did in that game.
I feel like we should not have won that game. Like Brentford, like if they had gotten away with 1 point, they would have been robbed. Like for us to win, they've absolutely been like because they were the hungrier team the last 30 minutes. And I don't know, we didn't step up, but I don't think we also played the team that we wanted to play because half the guys are not there and all. But still, looking at our squad depth and our quality, we should have done much better.
Yeah.
Oh, I think Chelsea also had like a couple of injury problems, and the other thing is like again, I want to bring this up. Like the last time I was on here, and these guys were giving me grief because of all you guys are giving me grief because of Arsenal's like start, right? But now you've seen like it's not an easy thing to go to Brentford. Like I was telling you guys about it. Like these guys play really good stuff, like really attractive football, week in week out at that tight stadium. They've got the newer stadium. The older one is even more tighter, but it's a tough place to go to. And even like Chelsea or European champions, like they put them like to the max. Like Chelsea were wilting almost with that. It's like saying if that game had gone on like couple of more minutes more, like who knows? It's like one of those games.
Yeah, Brentford would have scored.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But also, I was like, I think Chalobah was like the highlight for me. Like the guy's come in and he's putting in real good performances for Chelsea. I like the look of him. Young guy, he's a bit feisty. He likes to stick his body in, make those dirty challenges, but that's what's required in games like this. Like he's been really good. I think he was standout for me in terms of the defensive
the new
performance.
refereeing rule. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
they
think
did. I
that's what a
don't.
team. Yeah, that's what a team or
Yeah,
the defense needs to do. Like, I mean, it might not be pretty, but you need to come away with those 3 points
Mm,
somehow. Just grind it, grind, and come away with it.
yeah. Yeah.
You can do that, then you have a shot at winning the Prem. Otherwise, there's no chance in a league with your Man Cities and now with Newcastles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
but I think Chelsea are going to win. Chelsea probably will win the league for me because you see, like the AFCON is going to come up now in Jan, and a lot of these clubs are going to lose. Like not only Salah and Mane and Aubameyang and all these guys are going to go, and like that's going to have a huge impact. And I think Chelsea, like in terms of just the squad they have, like are going to be in great shape to, you know, be almost full strength. I don't think they're going to lose a lot of players in
I,
like
yeah,
important phase of the season when they can just pull away if they play well, like they did just do half decent, they'll pull away and it'll be too late by the time
Yeah.
these other guys come in. You know, that's why I said Chelsea
yeah.
from the beginning of the season. Like I
And,
always knew like that AFCON thing is going to
yeah.
turn it for Chelsea.
And I think in
And
this
they have like
game, many of
yeah.
the Chelsea players were not fully fit to start, right?
But we have depth. I mean, if we can
But
get
the depth,
RLC and
exactly.
Barkley to play, and Barkley
Yeah.
played like crazy the previous game. Like he gave that pass for Werner to score, and RLC like the reason Tuchel didn't put in Jorginho was because we needed RLC to win those headers and those duels, aerial duels, and he was doing it. I mean, whatever he could do, but he was surrounded by Brentford players,
Yeah. Yeah.
and Brentford like they're so fast and so attacking, and I don't think that's sustainable. But I think by December they'll be out. Like by December they'll be out with injuries, and the squad depth isn't great. But for now, every team better watch out because those guys are like. I mean, I underestimated them. I was
Yeah.
like, it's Brentford. What's the big deal? I think even Tuchel did, even Chelsea did. Like no,
We
dude.
clearly saw that them against Liverpool also, right? 2 weekends ago.
Yeah, there's a 3-3
Yeah.
draw as well.
That was just that was a perfect example of what you just mentioned. And like
But I think there's a slight difference between, let's say, a Brentford and even like Leeds, for example, who came in with the rock and roll football last season, right? Leeds obviously dropped off because of like have dropped off even this season because of injuries, and I think Bielsa is he's Bielsa, like he's moody, the guy.
Yeah,
And he's
I
lost a
mean,
bit
you
of that
can't
oomph
play
factor,
Murderball forever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think
Murderball
Brentford are going to
will.
sustain this.
Yeah.
I think Brentford are going to sustain this at least till February or March, and if they can sustain that till February or March, they're golden. Like if they get anywhere between 10 and 13th, like that's a great first season for Brentford. Like with the type of football they play, especially. And I always want to watch Brentford when they're playing at home. I don't know about the away stuff because it's always tough away now in the Premier League, but they'll be really good to watch when they're playing at home. The crowd is right up there, and the home games of Brentford are the ones to watch out for because they need to cash in on those, especially.
But I think from what we've seen, they're much better away than what they are at home. If I'm not wrong, yeah, at least up
the record, right
now, yeah.
Yeah,
I think Abin wanted to mention a bit about Lukaku as well, right? About his drought, the goal drought that he's been having, and in terms of, I think Tuchel came out and said that he's been playing too much international football and played too much football the last couple of months with the Euros and everything, and I think that's had an impact on him. I think that's why he came back early from international duty as well this time, where he just wanted to get those couple of days of rest, the extra rest that is required. But I think he'll come good because I think Chelsea still have a run of favorable fixtures. The next 4-5 games are winnable on paper, at least.
I like that we're not completely Lukaku dependent, right? We can still get a Werner goal or a Chilwell goal or somewhere from the left, from the right, something. We pulled a little bit of that last season as well. We had 6 people score up to 5 or 6 goals each.
Yeah,
and
I think you had 16,
I mean,
16 different scorers or something like that. Some double-digit number. But the problem with that is those double-digit numbers also is just 1 or 2 goals each, right? they
Yeah,
did
but
they probably got away with it a little bit last season where they didn't have someone like Werner, for example. I think he's got like 16 goals disallowed through VAR or some crazy stat like that. It's
Yeah,
15 or 16 goals
yeah,
that have been disallowed
yeah,
since he joined Chelsea. But I think you needed someone like Lukaku this season to bang in those 20 plus goals. But he's been off the boil, and that's, I think, concerning a lot of Chelsea fans, or at least Tuchel. At least that's why he's come out and spoken about him.
I think that Chelsea striker curse continues. It's always like we always overspend on a striker and they always peter out or fail or I don't know what it is.
and
He's not able to
unfortunately
score.
for you guys, whoever leaves Chelsea goes on to do great things that season, right? I don't know if anybody's following the Serie A with Mourinho and
Roma,
Pamier.
yeah, like
But they're just
killing
doing
it.
some great stuff.
He's doing really well over there.
Yeah,
So
he's
I don't know.
transformed Roma. Like,
Yeah,
but I don't think there's expectation for Mourinho there. That's why
Mm,
he is able to do what he does. But yeah.
yeah.
I think
should we-
it's Mourinho magic. Hopefully in Rome again. I want to see some
Yeah.
other team win the Italian league apart from Juventus and all these guys.
Yeah, I hope it's not Inter or Juventus. I actually genuinely feel like it's Mourinho's last two seasons to prove that he's not washed out. Like he
Or
has
he
to
just
win
come to
something with
Newcastle.
Roma.
If he doesn't win, he'll just come back to Newcastle next season.
Yeah, maybe. Speaking of which, they have been linked to Ranieri.
No, Ranieri's
Yeah.
at Watford, right?
Yeah, but he's just come back into
Yeah.
Premier League. No? Yeah.
A shocker 5-0.
Yeah.
And-
And
let's get to
speaking of the
that.
final, then we can get into the Salah magic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Andy actually asked the question, how does Salah pull such goals off so effortlessly?
I thought we were doing
What
the
do you
questions in the end, right?
Yeah, but
We were-
I just thought it
Since
was
it's
relevant to
yeah.
this.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
relevant to this.
Yeah. So he's currently in the best form that any player is in. I think like in his current form, he's even better than Messi and Ronaldo in their prime, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think after Benzema, he's probably world top 2-3 striker. Lewandowski, Benzema, and then
Yeah.
probably
He's
Salah.
definitely
I
How
think
I would
that,
rate him.
I think the top three scorers in the last couple of seasons have been Salah. I think he scored 106 or 109 goals, and Harry Kane's Harry Kane's still on top, and I think third is Aubameyang with 91 goals the last cup since he joined Arsenal. So I think Salah's always been on top apart from Kane. It's basically been him and Kane and probably Aguero before he left. But now I think Salah's got it by the scruff of the neck. Like he's just
totally.
insane. He reminds me of that Suarez season where Suarez just went wild that season especially against Norwich and all these teams where you knew there was something going to happen. Like you knew there was something in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
when you see Salah, right, like you thought he was like a one-season wonder the first season he came back, and then he's consistently proved everybody wrong. Like it's like the Egyptian magician, all of that.
Yeah.
But personally, which goal did you like better?
Which
goal of his did you like better? The one against City or the one he scored the other day?
The one against City. I always like a Salah goal against City.
I think weaker foot as well.
Yeah, because of weaker foot. Yeah, exactly. And it's City, right?
And I think just the way use the strength just to get off those two defenders in the beginning before making the slamming run. I think the City goal for me also was like much better than the one he scored the other day.
And you can't really compare a goal against City and a goal against Watford. The two levels are just completely different to be compared to. At least the style of football, the level of football that the other two clubs play.
Yeah, well, it's just the form of his life, as they say, I guess.
Yeah, that is no doubt. That's no doubt true.
It's insane.
Yeah, but do you think Liverpool are going to be champions this season, or do you still stick with Chelsea?
I think Chelsea and City are the favorites for me. But I'm leaning towards Chelsea ones I mentioned earlier. But I think with Liverpool, what's going to happen is, again, the AFCON is going to play a huge role, and they're involved in just too many competitions, right? Champions League, the domestic cups, and the league. And what's happening with him is he's not really switching the lineups too much. I think that was one thing that is being talked about a lot. I think I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he needs you had, I think, Ox coming out and saying he wants to leave, and a couple of players are not playing, want to get moves because I guess they won the Champions League and the league, and they just want to get more playing time at a certain age, right?
Yeah, there's no rotation happening.
Yeah, and I think the Salah contract situation is another thing Liverpool fans and the club are dealing with, where I guess it's do you give him that kind of big money, or do you still, pay him what you're paying him? With especially what we just spoke about, like he's doing bits at the moment.
Yeah.
He's.
I mean, what are your thoughts since you're back?
So I haven't seen I don't think anybody in the world is as good as Mohamed Salah right now. Maybe Karim Benzema is a close second, or if not, they're almost on the same level with each other.
Lewandowski.
I almost take him for granted at this point, and that's just, I don't know. I feel bad, but that just speaks to the greatness of the player himself. But regards to Salah, I mean, I know you guys spoke about the goal against Watford. To have done the same goal twice in the space of 2 game weeks, to have done it against Man City, and then to have done it against Watford. And I don't know if we spoke about Ben Foster having him as captain on his FPL team. So I mean,
No,
just
The cycling goalkeeper.
The cycling goalkeeper.
It's quite entertaining. The guy.
So for him to be and I don't know, someone I was in a conversation with the few friends, and they said that could be a conflict of interest. No, I'm like, I don't think even Ben Foster realized he was going to do the same thing twice. So,
but just before you came on, we went around the table and asked which goal did you like better, the one against City or the one against Watford?
City, because that's the first time you see it, and then the second time against Watford, I'm like, oh no, he's about to do it again. He's going to do it again. Oh, he has done it again. So that was, I think, the goal against Watford is the cherry on the cake. The icing and the cake was actually the first goal that we see against Man City. I thought that was excellent, and I think Liverpool right now, before the AFCON kicks in, have a great chance to rack up some points on the board, because Ferran Torres now is injured for about 2 months, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's out.
So Ferran Torres is out. Lukaku, we'll get to him, is on a bit of a dry spell. Hasn't really been scoring.
We did touch upon that.
Yeah, and who else? And there's of course and United are doing what United do. Spurs are spursing their way through, but now that Newcastle are in the fray, that was also quite an entertaining game. It kind of had it all. It had drama. It had
really
some tragedy. Yeah, and there was a real encapsulation of the human spirit. There was quite a few things in that in that game I quite enjoyed.
I don't think I've seen so many English people in one place with headgears, right? Have you ever seen that before?
No, I haven't either.
It's quite funny to see them dressed up in their Newcastle colors.
Yeah, in the Newcastle. That was just a whole. I don't know now, and they kept cutting to the Saudis every time Newcastle scored. That was the first time, and then then I was listening to another pod where he said, I liked it at first, but I also wanted to see their face when they kept conceding. And there's a picture of the CEO on his phone, and it's a Wikipedia article and the next picture is a Wikipedia article of John Joe Shelby. They're like, who is John Joe Shelby? Why does he play for my club? But yeah, I don't see the likes of Shelby staying. And speaking of Newcastle, there has been a manager who's come out saying he's always shared a great love for the club. It has a special place in his heart. That is, of course, always like a true Geordie Mourinho, who said he's always and he's had an emotional connection with Newcastle. Of course, Jose, like, of course you've had an emotional connection with Newcastle. But if they were to, I think
they
now
were
the whole
Chelsea's
Brian Robson thing.
bogey team. Yeah, they were also Chelsea's bogey team whenever Mourinho was in charge of us. We would always lose to Newcastle for some reason.
He was a translator under Bobby Robson at Barcelona, right? So
Bobby
Robson, obviously Newcastle legend and all that. So I think that's where he's coming from in terms of.
That makes sense.
And now, if I'm being perfectly honest, it's coming because he can go to the board and be like, Mr. Chairman, I want striker, 80 million. Here, that's basically what I see. But it kind of fits his profile if he does go there. I don't think he goes there for the next 2 years anyway. He goes there when they have where they have good players, but they're also underdogs. So they're kind of in this mold where, like, okay, and Mourinho loves being the underdog. Like, the first 2 seasons at Chelsea, he was the underdog, even though they had a really good team. And he went and, as we all know, won 2.
He's the underdog at Roma right now.
Yeah,
and he's killing it.
They lost. I think they lost unluckily to Juventus as well. Right? There was an offside goal involved in that as well.
That was the most mature conference I've ever seen Mourinho give. He was all like, yeah, we played with our hearts, but they were the better team. It's okay, cool. He wasn't that salty, like, attitude Mourinho that he usually is.
Mm-hmm.
There was a photo going around, I think, with him showing 3 fingers, like pointing the number 3 on his fingertips for beating them 3 times or something, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, he said earlier, I've come and played at Juventus, but not played well and beat them. But this time we played well and we didn't beat them.
Yeah,
something like that.
Juve also slowly creeping back up. I feel now the resilience has finally crept in.
Yeah.
And that is the only hope, I think, with United, because I feel they've had to reject tactical systems because Ronaldo came in and there was like a whole system at play, and now they're like, oh fuck, this doesn't work. We have to switch this out to something else. So the system has been changing. Another manager who I think within 2 months is very clearly has a playing style and look and play some exciting attacking football is somebody we all didn't have quite a lot of faith in, and that is Patrick Vieira. So Patrick Vieira's Crystal Palace look fun. They look like a really entertaining team to watch.
It's breaking up a bit.
Can you still hear me?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
No, we can hear you.
Are you back, Vishnu?
Yeah.
Cool.
No, I think he's frozen.
He's stuck.
He's back. It's better now.
Okay, nice. Yeah. So I was wanted to talk about Patrick Vieira and what a job he's doing at Palace. And I was watching a lot of Arsenal interviews yesterday, as you do, and they said we're fine. I mean, we're on a path right now, but we should keep an eye on what he does in the future. Not right now. I want to see what Vieira does 2-3 years down the line, and then a decision. And if he still sustains the way he's going, then I think it's the right time to call him into the Arsenal job.
It's a little premature.
Hello?
I think Vishnu, we can hear you.
Vishnu, go ahead.
Yeah, so I didn't catch the last bit, but again, with Vieira, what's happened is, especially with Roy Hodgson, if you see what he did at the end of last season and through the summer, a number of players were going out of contract, and he was there for a couple of years, and he firstly sorted that whole situation out. So I think Vieira's come into the job with some form of stability at Palace, which was, I think, credit has to go to Roy Hodgson there, the way he settled the club before eventually leaving. Mm-hmm. And secondly, I think he's building a style of play in terms of the press. You saw that he went with a 4-3-3 against Arsenal yesterday, where I was a bit surprised, where I thought the midfield was going to be a bit flat because they're like similar molded players in the middle of the park, but I didn't think they would have that, that creative thrust or that energy to outpower. But I think the key difference was Partey, who was the only holding midfielder apart from the other 2 attacking players for Arsenal. I think that eventually played out in Vieira's favor, where if you see in the first 15-20 minutes, it was like Arsenal were sort of moving it around on the wings and stuff, but then it just came about like he stuck to the tactics that he had started the game with, which was, I think, really brave play, especially playing away from home. And I was surprised because I saw the big numbers everyone was talking about just before the game started was whenever Zaha is not playing for Palace, they lose most of their games. I think they've lost 18 out of the last 23 games where Zaha has not played and scored just 8 goals. So I thought, if Arsenal had just not shot themselves in the foot at those particular moments in the game, I think they would have been fine. But again, it's the big talking point that we've all been waiting for is that MacArthur incident, where anyone who's played the game knows that he's gone with the intent, he's gone knowing that he's not going to get a red card. It's clear as day, and I think.
So I thought he tried to volley, like he looks to volley it and then gets him completely wrong. He's like in his head, he's like, I'm about to volley this person, and then he looks, and then by the time it's already too late, it's a red card. Whatever is in
I think what saved him was because Mike Dean blew the whistle for the handball just before that incident. And I think if you had not blown for the handball, if you had not looked at the handball and looked at this incident in isolation, I think it was straight red. I think the only reason he's not got it because of the handball and the whistle being blown before that. Otherwise, I think he's gone. If he's just looking at that particular incident, he's off. Early shower for him, for sure, in any game. It's ridiculous. Because it's the turning point of the game. Like, it's like, what's VAR there for?
Exactly. So I feel this was very similar to, the situation that unfolded. I mean, obviously, to a lesser extent, I would say this time around, where the Pickford Van Dijk situation happened, but they're already blown for offside, and Pickford takes Van Dijk out, does his ACL in, but luckily Saka escaped. I remember watching it and I was like, wow, I cannot believe this dude is still on the pitch. Because there's late and then there's late. And this man is clearly in the latter. But the red card incident aside, what do you think of Arsenal right now, like in their current being? Because the result against Spurs they were excellent in that game. They hassled and harried Spurs, and I know we were supposed to do this, around, get you back on for that game, but our schedules have been such that we've been so off it. But now with the games against Brighton and now specifically against Palace, like these mid-table teams, which are no longer just throwaway games. They're just each game is getting far more difficult than any of the top teams could have anticipated. So where are Arsenal right now? Like, what is the new boys have come in? Tomiyasu looks interesting. Like, what is your opinion on them right now?
I think the way it's going to go for Arsenal this season is a bit like how the last couple of games have gone. Like we haven't lost in the last, I think, 5 or 6 games, but it's going to be a case of maybe winning 2 or 3, but you'll never see us go on a run of winning 5 or 6 on the trot. We'll probably go unbeaten, and that's what he referred to as well. The whole point was not losing the game from the situation Arsenal found themselves in, right? The biggest takeaway from the game for me was you scored in the 8th minute, flying start, celebrate in front of the away fans. There was they were not going for the kill, right? Even though Arsenal have the firepower is back in terms of Aubameyang playing, Saka playing, all the attacking options we've got in Smith Rowe and Odegaard, who were, I think, fantastic in the North London derby. And after that game, everyone's expecting more and more. But I don't think you're going to get that from these
they're young,
like
right?
Smith Rowe and Odegaard, because they're not the type of matured players yet who are going to give you performances game in, game out, like the De Bruynes and the Fodens, who's special talent, obviously. You're not going to get that. So that's going to be the main difference for Arsenal this season, where they're not going to go on that run. Like, it's like playing with water, with gunpowder or something like that, Like, the firepower is there, but what are they doing with the firepower? Like, they just stood back after the first goal, let Palace come into the game, build till the first half. And then second half, after that MacArthur incident, when Saka went off, completely changed the tactical formation of Arsenal. In a way, I thought it would be a blessing in disguise, because then you had 2 holding midfielders in Lokonga and Partey playing, where Partey was taking against speculative efforts from outside the box. But I think Arsenal they didn't have that killer instinct until probably Lacazette came. And the first thing Lacazette, if you watched the game, he came and he tried to get the crowd up and tried to get everyone up. And I was wondering, why not make that change earlier? Because he's holding up the ball, he's linking up play, and you saw that little interchange between Aubameyang and him as well, where he brought about a good save from Guaita just before.
Yeah, there was that point. there was a point where he gets the ball and then he runs, and I think he gets the ball on the edge of the deep towards the
on the right hand side,
yeah.
of the box.
Yeah, and then he tries, and at that point I'm like, pass the ball, just pass the ball. Like, pass the ball, you create a chance here. And the one thing that upset me even against, I know you must remember it, the Bournemouth game, the 3-0 to 3-3 at Vicarage Road. No, Vicarage Road is Watford. I'm sorry. What is the Bournemouth stadium called?
Vitality.
I'm sorry. Yeah. And that's when Giroud gets the third, the equalizer, and he goes to do that irritating celebration in front of the camera when there's time on the clock. You can forgive the team because I don't think the electronic boards are working. I saw a lot of complaints from fans on the ground on Twitter saying, "Oh, the boards aren't working today for some reason." But you're 3-3, take the ball, run back. And if you look back closely to the game, Aubameyang gets the ball, he's running to the ball, then sees what's happening, and then runs over. In moments like that, like when Dan James did it against Crystal Palace, ironically against Crystal Palace 2 years ago, I was like, "What are you doing? Get the ball, go back. What's wrong with you?" And I feel Lacazette now has come on with he looks like he's up for it. I assume like he looks like he has a point to prove.
Like you could compare his situation to the situation Cavani's in at the moment, where he's going to bring something to the table whenever he's going to be on the pitch. But how are you going to fit him into the team? Because you're always going to have players who are going to be ahead of him. Like it's a very similar situation with him and Cavani, where both of them are stuck in the situation where I know I'm good enough to play, but there's just no place for me at the moment in terms of the way the manager's playing, right?
You think there's a future where he goes with that 4-4-2 diamond and plays them both?
He needs to play the 3 for Arsenal. Arsenal, I think.
My power just went off.
That was too funny. Okay, for those of you listening to this on stream, Akshay just went from light to dark.
Turn off my camera for a second and be right back.
Cool. All right. I'm sorry. Go on. I'm so sorry that threw me off.
What was I saying? Yeah, both. I think for Arsenal, I think
3 at the back, right?
It's 3 at the back. It's more 3 at the back situation at the moment. But I think Tomiyasu, as you said, he's been a bright spot. Tierney, I think, has been a little flat after the Euros, as like we've spoken about the English players coming back. He's been a little flat, like even though he hit the bar, and I thought if that had gone in, like different game again. But he's been a bit flat. I think Arsenal, Partey needs to do more, bring more to the table. Like he's been trying at least. You can see that he's trying more this season.
He tried. He had that shot that it dipped, but it was a little too far.
And he's showing more of a personality in terms of arguing with the refs and cajoling his players and that type of thing. He's trying, but it's going to be hard. Arsenal's going to have a long season. You're not going to see them win more than probably 4 games in a row at any point in the season. That's the way it's going to go.
My fear for Arsenal is if they play like that. I mean, there's an absolute get out of jail card, and you could see Vieira's heart break on the sidelines. You see him, because it happens. The second time it happened to him against Brighton as well, right? And it should have been hilarious for me back in the day because he was a player and I didn't quite like him. But now I'm like, oh, poor guy, new manager. I feel bad for you.
I don't know if it's just me, but did you also notice that moment in the beginning of the game where Vieira came out of the Arsenal tunnel and he just sat down where the whole crowd was singing his name and trying to get his attention behind him, and he just sat down calmly and he was just waiting. And as soon as Arteta came, shook his hand and went to the rest of the staff, then he came and he was like, "I'm going to show you who the real legend here is." Like I thought that was a bit sneaky from Vieira. Like I don't know.
He knows how to play the crowd.
There's one experience, trying to get the crowd at the wrong time.
But that's something that you expect from him, because from just his character, it's like he wants to be the best, and he knows.
He interestingly made a similar point on Monday Night Football with Gary and Gary Neville and Carragher, where he was like, "I've always been the nice guy. It's people like you two trying to get me up in the tunnel with that whole tunnel incident with Gary Neville and Roy Keane."
It's funny that they now. I mean, obviously, it's always silly, but in retrospect, when it was like, blood boiling, it was made for an entertaining spectacle. I look back at it and think that was real blood and thunder football. I mean, now it's more about systems and like pressing units and. and so it's like it's an interesting time that we currently find ourselves in. Very different, and which is why most of the 4-4-2 systems have gone obsolete, like we discussed earlier on. Okay, before we move on to the comments and conclude this week's episode, I quickly want to talk about the best game of the weekend, which was the Midlands Derby, Wolves versus Aston Villa, which was completely if you have to get a winner, a 90th minute winner, it should be one that it deflects off someone's ass and goes into the goal, and that's basically what happened. Ruben Neves takes a shot, huge deflection, completely wrong foots the keeper, goes in corner, 94. And the thing is, Villa were 2-0 up in that game, and Wolves brought it back to 2-2, and then eventually won the game on 3-2. What an absolute!
That was within 10 minutes, right? The last 10 minutes.
Yeah, it was just the last 10 minutes. It was pure chaos, and you can imagine when people go into work. I mean, and we don't get a lot of that here, obviously, but when people are going into work the next day after a Midlands derby, the fans are trying to avoid the rival fans are trying to avoid each other. That must have been such a hilarious experience to have. So, props to Wolves, dude. They seem to be getting better day by day, even though I'm not a big believer in Adama Traore. He does the right thing in the last 5 though, so props to him. Okay, quickly into the comments we go, and there are quite a few. So Shreyas is obviously long-time friend of the channel. He says, "How does Salah pull such goals off so effortlessly?" And man, I wish we knew, but he is really Mr. Twinkle Toes, the Prince of Egypt, whatever you want to call him, parting the defenders like it was the Red Sea. And then he's talking about the De Gea saves, and he has a really interesting question. Akshay is asking if you want Zidane in. Is that someone you would consider? I actually think if there was a replacement, I now warmed up to the idea. Yeah, because he can manage.
Zidane is also not a system guy, dude. Zidane is a man management guy.
At least we'll win Champions Leagues.
No, but it's the egos. Yeah, that's what he's actually.
At least some trophy will win.
Did you not see the midfield Madrid had? They had Kroos, Modric, and Casemiro for the Champions League wins. We have McTominay, Fred, and Matic. Come on.
And Phil Jones. Come on.
Yeah, Phil Jones.
But I think he might be a good player.
Ronaldo dropped that name. He was like, maybe Zidane. One of those interviews, he was just like, I don't know, maybe Zidane.
Yeah, but I'm sure he'd be a good replacement if at all Ole has to leave or sacked.
I can imagine Zidane walking into that team and being like, I'll show you what a midfielder is.
But I think Zidane goes to PSG, dude. He's a pass-in himself, and I don't think Potts is keeping that job for too long. I mean, if you can't win with Messi,
they're scraping through results. But then they also have the same problem. They have a brilliant team who don't track back. So it's the same. It's and unfortunately for the rest of us, Klopp and Guardiola have decided you can have the best players in your squad. I will have one more player in there to make sure he doesn't get the ball. And I will absolutely suffocate him. So I was listening to, in the gym, and when I'm in the gym, I'm listening to football podcasts, and I was listening to this guy talk about how if a team keeps a ball for 20 passes, they make 20 passes between themselves, that's when gaps start to open up, because you can't keep pressing for 20 passes, right? The other team is going to tire. So 20 passes in, he's gaps start to open up, the field gets bigger, and then you start to move the ball into more adventurous positions, and that opens up a chance. Now, how if you take the chance is on you, but that's kind of the system that playing out from the back usually. I mean, what do you call it? Permeate? That's the kind of philosophy permeates. But now. And United tried, and they don't do it very well because Maguire is not really comfortable being that centre back, and Varane was meant to be that person. I think Lindelof is definitely that person, and maybe an argument could be made that Varane replaces Maguire and not Lindelof. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, if anyone else has any other thoughts, let's look to wrap this up.
I like how the Sun put the Watford. No, who did Man City play?
Burnley.
Burnley, right?
Yeah.
They beat them 2-0 and pretty convincingly, but the Sun writes Man City quietly beat Burnley.
Because usually Burnley gets smashed at the Etihad
Burnley,
whenever
Yeah.
they play Burnley.
Yeah.
You just expect goals in that one.
And we all predicted a 4 or 5 minute.
But that's also the expectation from Man City that if they win, they smash it's like 5-0, 4-0, 5-0. And that's what I'm genuinely scared of. That I mean, I think we're in a pretty good position to win Chelsea, but Man City, if they get on one of those runs, then it just makes the whole league boring again.
Yeah,
We're just all screwed.
I agree.
No, that's why Chelsea didn't need to get their act going because I think like especially Lukaku, and I have like my biggest gripes with that team is with Tuchel and Lukaku. One being Tuchel is like, listen, just stop playing him as a target man. It's not going to work. The proof is in the pudding. We did it 3 years ago. It doesn't work. And the rest of the team, I think Werner is the one stepping up. Chilwell looks like a player that is also looking to be back on, getting back to his best anyway. So it's going to be an interesting season. I think this weekend's fixtures are also entertaining. We'll be doing a preview for it on Thursday, like we always do, because it's a Friday kickoff this time. The season ends, the game week begins on a Friday. But for those of you who are still watching, please like and subscribe. If you're following us on the podcast, subscribe to the podcast as well, because it really helps us grow the audience. We'd love to keep doing this on a larger scale, so that's what we're working towards. And that's us. We'll see you on the next one. Vishnu, will you join us next week?
Yeah, sure.
Let's do this. We'll see you next week as well. Take care, guys. We'll see you.
Take care, guys.
See you.
Yeah, see you guys.
Cheers. Bye.